Excuse me, Republicans are going to get a limited amount of the minority votes. That's just a fact of life. Ted Cruz is anti-immigrant. He's anti-Mexican, illegal immigrant, if you want to add those words to it. Donald Trump is anti-immigrant. He's anti-Hispanic. He's anti-black. He's anti-war veteran. He's anti-woman. And he's anti-disabled people. I mean, he's cast aspersions on all of those groups. Now, Joy Reid is going to interview a couple of people. One of them is Omarosa. Make sure we get that right. And this chick is, this chick is living in a fantasy land. Anyway, I'm going to play the clip, and then I'm going to make my comments about this particular clip.
I've got this guy standing over there looking at me, talking about New York values with scorn in his face, with hatred of New York. So, folks, I think you can forget about him.
After arriving back on his home turf, Donald Trump wasted no time going after Ted Cruz's uncharitable remark about New York. Cruz fired back, explaining exactly what he meant by New York values.
The people of New York know exactly what those values are. They're the values of liberal Democratic politicians like Andrew Cuomo, like Anthony Weiner, like Eliot Spitzer, like Charlie Rangel, all of whom Donald Trump has supported, given tens of thousands of dollars throughout the years. If you want to know what liberal Democratic values are, follow Donald Trump's checkbook.
See, and that's bullshit, because what the firefighters and the police officers and the first responders that went into the World Trade Towers, where thousands of people lost their lives, those are the real New York values. New Yorkers come together when the shit hits the fan, and nobody fucks with us. Now, as far as Texas is concerned, they got a sign when you drive into Texas from any direction: don't mess with Texas. Well, if it's don't mess with Texas, our sign should be don't fuck with New York.
And joining me now, Juan Manuel Benitez from New York One, and from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Trump supporter Omarosa Manigault. Thank you both for being here. I should note that we did have a surrogate for the Ted Cruz campaign scheduled to be here in this block, but said surrogate did not make it. So let's go to you first then, Omarosa. Do you believe that the New York values contretemps is going to help Donald Trump, or does he need the help to win New York?
Well, certainly Ted Cruz put his foot in his mouth when he attacked not just, as he said, Democrats, but he attacked an entire community, a community that showed great courage and resilience after 9/11, a community that came together and was not divided by party. This was a community that stands very strong and very proud of who they are. So attacking New York was truly a critical error, and he will see that. Donald Trump will win because he is the best candidate. He doesn't need any assistance from Ted Cruz, who truly shows that he has no respect whatsoever for the voters in New York.
Well, Juan Manuel, there's a New York Daily News headline. They've become sort of the tabloid front page to look at every morning, and they wrote a headline essentially, "Take the FU train," regarding Ted Cruz. And then we have an Emerson College poll that's come out that's shown the second and third place leads flipped. Donald Trump still well ahead, 56%. Ted Cruz at 22%. Kasich down at 17%. 22%. Is it surprise you that Ted Cruz is even doing that well when he seems to have shown some scorn for New York? Does that resonate with New York voters?
I think that comment that he made, he started making in Iowa, might be really effective for that electorate or other states that maybe have more Republican values voters. Here in New York State, I think it's a little different. Most Republican voters, they are not that religious, so that electorate is smaller. So I don't think it's that important or that negative for Ted Cruz to have said that, or to have attacked Donald Trump like that months ago, because I don't think it's going to have that much of an effect in New York.
And to your point, you just put up the percentage of New York Republicans who identify as evangelicals is only 16%. You compare that with a state like Wisconsin, where it was 34%, so you've got about half the size of the evangelical electorate. So in your view, that really does not help Ted Cruz here.
It didn't, but it also, it doesn't have it doesn't resonate. It makes for great tabloid front pages. However, if you see in New York State, the Republican base is more towards someone like Donald Trump. You have a large white working class electorate, upstate New York. So it's more like the Donald Trump electorate that we can see here, or maybe the John Kasich electorate, that it's more moderate Republican, that is having some trouble with John Kasich here also, because Donald Trump may be eating up that electorate here in New York State too. So, and also going back to the Daily News front page, that came after Ted Cruz tried to go to the Bronx to meet with some extremely conservative Latino religious leaders.
It didn't go well.
And it didn't go well.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I did a video on it, but I could not believe that Ted Cruz's stupid ass decided to go to the Bronx, and they ran his ass out of there.
I think we actually have a little piece of that sound. Let's play a little bit of Ted Cruz attempting to bond with the people of the Bronx.
I'm thrilled to be here. God bless you, sir. Thank you.
Wow, so that didn't go well.
That didn't go well. He was invited by a Democratic state senator who was extremely conservative, extremely controversial. Also, some people might say homophobic. He was invited by State Senator Ruben Diaz Sr., who is the father of Bronx former President Ruben Diaz Jr., who is supporting Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
And it's a small group of people. And Ted Cruz has talked about increasing police presence in Muslim communities, Muslim neighborhoods.
And said he cheered when police turned their back on the mayor.
Right, and that district in Parchester, you have a large population of Bangladeshis who might be the basic
people will be profiled.
Yeah, exactly.
Indeed. Well, I want to get Omarosa back in, because Donald Trump, while he does have this commanding lead in the polls, and to the point that he does sort of have the better favorables in New York, let's look at his overall favorability just for a moment, Omarosa. Really bad. 69% unfavorable, 26% favorable. Admittedly, Ted Cruz is really in not that much better shape, but how can a candidate with those kind of unfavorable ratings possibly hope to win a general election?
Well, you know, we just have to look at what's happened in the last, I'd say, 6 months. Donald Trump has won 8 million votes from voters who want to see a change. Truly, you'll see an outsider as a Republican nominee. And Donald Trump is not a part of the establishment. He has brought change. And so you will see some different numbers. I'm not really going to put a lot of faith into the polls, because we have seen state after state, primary after primary, people show up and show out for Donald Trump because they believe in this movement that is happening. Donald Trump wants to make America great again. He has policies and he has a vision to really do that. And that's not always going to be popular. Change is difficult, and Donald Trump is up for this fight.
Well, Omarosa, you just saw the reaction.
Notice she didn't answer the question about his unfavorables.
Of some Latino New Yorkers to Ted Cruz when he came to town, the very anti-immigrant stances that have been taken both by Cruz and by Donald Trump. Why would any voter of color have anything to do with Donald Trump when he is supported by white supremacist groups, when they are making robocalls for him in states, and when the policies are creating such anxiety and angst among not only Muslim Americans, but Latino Americans across the board? The number of people have been offended by Donald Trump. Why would any voter of color even consider him?
Well, first of all, Donald Trump has a wide appeal. One, because he is speaking to the issues that voters are concerned about. In my community, folks are concerned about the economy. They're concerned about jobs. They really want not just to hear politicians talk the talk, but walk the walk. Donald Trump is running a billion-dollar company. He knows how to make change, and he really does fight for those who do not have a voice. We just created a national coalition of diversity for Donald Trump. You will see all of the folks who are supporting him from all different types of background organized in this effort to really just show and not just talk about what Donald Trump is doing in these different communities.
All right, last one.
I want to see how many Muslims they got in that group.
I'll give you a Juan Manuel, the last one. Does that sound like something that could work?
There's something really troubling that's going to happen this coming week. Donald Trump is going to come to do an event. He's going to come to Long Island, blocks away where Marcelo Lucero, an Ecuadorian immigrant, was killed in 2008 by a group of white teenagers that were out there hunting for Mexicans. So a few blocks from there, Donald Trump is going to bring his anti-immigrant message this coming week, and that is extremely troubling, and a lot of immigration groups
Not
are denouncing that.
anti-immigrant, pro-American.
Okay, we got to go. Really quickly, last word on
Pro-American, not anti-immigrant.
All right, well, we're going to have this debate continue, and it's going to play out right here in New York.
Pro-American.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay, now she had just said that she was giving him the last word, but this broad Omarosa wouldn't let that go down. And yeah, Donald Trump is anti-immigrant. Okay, now you can say he's anti-illegal immigrant, but you have to also say that he's anti-immigrant. Why do I say that? Because the legal immigrants who happen to be Muslim, those are the people he wants to target, i.e., just like Ted Cruz, monitoring them in the mosques, which he has publicly come out and said, and monitoring them in their neighborhoods. Okay, but he's not targeting white supremacists, monitoring them in their churches or wherever else they particularly travel or live. So yeah, Donald Trump is anti-immigrant. He wants to stop legal immigration of Muslims in this country. So Muslims are immigrants. He's anti-immigrant.